Okay, let's dive right into this. For a long time now, India has been called the pharmacy of the world, right? We produce this absolutely massive share of the globe's generic drugs. But here's the thing. Manufacturing is really only half the battle. Owning the actual research and development, that is where the future of global health is truly decided. So, welcome to this explainer. Today we're taking a look at a massive new financial announcement from the center that could quite literally change the entire landscape of our healthcare. We're unpacking a newly rolled out assistance fund that is specifically targeted at biomedical research, and honestly, the numbers here are absolutely staggering.
1,500 crore rupees. Yeah, that is not a typo. It is an immense amount of capital, and it represents a massive, massive stake in the ground by the government. We're talking about high stakes and some really serious policy maneuvering here. You know, this isn't just a slight bump in some random departmental budget. No, this is a tidal wave of funding, and it's designed to aggressively accelerate the nation's capabilities in the medical sciences.
So here is exactly how we'll unpack this investment today. First, the billion rupee boost. Second, unlocking biomedical bottlenecks. Third, where does the money go? Fourth, building healthcare self-reliance. And finally, number 5, what it means for you.
All right, Section 1, the billion rupee boost, the sheer scale of the center's new assistance fund. When a government rolls out a policy of this magnitude, it is so crucial that we don't just view it as your typical run-of-the-mill public spending. Actually, it's a highly aggressive, calculated investment pitch for the long-term health and economic stability of the entire nation. Think of it like this. This fund acts as the ultimate seed capital for our biomedical future. What that means on the ground is that this totally abstract 1,500 crore figure isn't just going to sit around gathering dust in a bank account. It's destined to become physical, life-saving things. We're talking about the foundational money required to develop homegrown innovations. You know, things like cutting-edge MRI components, highly targeted oncology drugs, and advanced medical devices that, frankly, might otherwise never see the light of day.
Moving right along to Section 2, unlocking biomedical bottlenecks. Why the center is stepping in now.
So you might be wondering, why does the government even need to inject this kind of capital? Why not just let the private market handle it, right? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the traditional roadblocks that are just kind of baked into medical R&D. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we define biomedical research. It's the broad area of science that looks for ways to prevent and treat diseases, essentially bridging that massive gap between laboratory sciences and everyday medical practice. It's not just about opening a standard neighborhood pharmacy. It's about funding that critical, highly complex bridge between a scientist staring through a microscope and a doctor handing a patient a life-saving pill. And get this, did you know it typically takes 10 to 15 years and over $1 billion to successfully bridge that gap for just a single new drug? The barriers to entry are just astronomical.
Without this kind of highly targeted funding, the sector faces a really harsh reality. We're talking stagnation, brain drain, which is where our absolute top scientists leave for better-funded labs overseas, and the infamous startup Valley of Death. If you haven't heard of it, the Valley of Death is a brutal industry reality where up to 90% of medical startups simply fail. Why? Because clinical trials are just way too expensive for them to finish. But with this 1,500 crore funding, we completely flip the script. This capital acts as a vital bridge right over that Valley of Death, leading directly to accelerated innovation, fully funded clinical trials, and ultimately, breakthrough cures. Which brings us to Section 3. Where does the money go? Tracking the beneficiaries of the assistance fund.
So who is actually lining up to receive this crucial seed capital? Well, the fund is strategically designed to support an entire, totally interconnected ecosystem. It starts with the academic and research universities. That's where the foundational, theoretical research begins. Then, that research is handed off to scrappy biotech startups, the guys who are agile and willing to take massive, massive risks on totally new technologies. Once those concepts are proven to work, the big pharma giants and industry leaders step in to provide structure and scale. And finally, biomedical manufacturing hubs physically produce these medical innovations for the masses. So the crucial point is that it requires this entire chain functioning perfectly together to actually bring a cure to the market.
All right, Section 4, building healthcare self-reliance, connecting the lab to the medicine cabinet.
Look, in a post-pandemic world, relying heavily on foreign imports for critical medical supplies is a widely recognized, glaring vulnerability. The broader strategic goal here is building a truly self-reliant biomedical sector right here at home. I mean, we all remember the global supply chain collapse during COVID-19, right? When countries were aggressively scrambling for basic active pharmaceutical ingredients and ventilator parts? This pipeline is exactly how we prevent that from ever happening again. Let's move on and see how this builds out sequentially. It begins with Step 1, the initial fund allocation from the government. That capital then flows into Step 2, domestic lab research, sparking homegrown scientific breakthroughs. Then, those breakthroughs are put through Step 3, rigorous clinical trials to ensure absolute safety and efficacy. And finally, Step 4, the proven innovation reaches patient care. It's an arduous journey for sure, but it ensures that a government grant eventually transforms into a physical treatment that is entirely controlled and produced within our borders.
And that leads us to our final section, Section 5, what it means for you, the ultimate return on investment for the public.
Because, let's be real, at the end of the day, macroeconomic policy and advanced lab research only truly matter if they positively impact your health, your home, and your future. A robust biomedical sector means faster cures, cheaper devices, and complete health security for the public. The ultimate return on this 1,500 crore investment isn't just a spreadsheet of successful businesses. No, it is deep, unshakable domestic resilience. It means that when the next health crisis hits, or, heaven forbid, when someone in your own family needs a highly specialized medical device, we won't be stuck waiting in a frozen global supply chain line. We will have the internal capability to handle it independently, efficiently, and most importantly, affordably.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. With 1,500 crore firmly on the table to totally eliminate the financial bottlenecks of medical innovation, what disease will India cure next? The possibilities truly are limitless, and it's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch this sector evolve in the coming years. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on the biomedical space, because with this kind of backing, it is about to move very, very fast.